It's becoming very clear that Republicans just want a repeat of the first 2 years of Obama. So they propose all these amendments to the stimulus, and then they vote unilaterally in the Senate against the stimulus. So it's just like total cynical bullshit, right? And then they say it's because, oh, well, this bill is too partisan. Democrats want to do things their own way. And so they set up this dynamic wherein they get to say, oh, well, Democrats said they were going to be post-partisan. They said they were going to work together. They said they were going to work with us, and then they don't. Because, of course, Democrats have no control over, how Republicans vote. It's this question of bipartisanship. Republicans can sabotage that themselves, and then they get to criticize the Democrats for not being bipartisan. And it's the same dynamic as under Obama.
Bernie Sanders has already given us a good rhetorical line against this, which is to pivot away from the concerns of different teams, different political parties, bipartisanship. Like, you're accepting a frame, you're reifying the party structures to a degree that is not useful in this debate, that serves to help the Republicans with talks of bipartisanship. In interviews I've seen with Sanders where they've put the question to him about bipartisanship, he just pivots back to the issues. Like, well, we want these things to pass. We want to help people. And if the Republicans are going to come along, great. If they're not, we're going to keep going. And if they remain loud about that and genuine in their pursuits, that's the thing. If they just say that, and then this thing gets watered down with bringing the threshold down to 50,000 instead of 75,000. Other forms that limit the aid people will get. On the one hand, people will not like Democrats for having broken their promise and just sort of not lived up to what they promised. So there's like that rhetorical side of people not trusting them. And then there's just the straight up smaller check in hand that I think is going to just on its own, no matter what they say, greatly influence how they're perceived in 2 years for the elections. So like both on a politics and policy side, like they really should just be way more aggressive in this pursuit.
The $2,000 check thing in particular, something like that really breaks through. Word of that gets around. And so we're going to get $2,000. And it's just such horrible politics to backtrack on that in particular, because they're
already a little behind. They're already a little behind with this 1,400 bullshit. And they have to work from that hole they're in. And so freaking do stuff.
You don't have necessarily a ton of things that break through to kind of widespread consciousness. All this, like, let's talk about bipartisanship that we're talking about. No one cares about that practically. People care about how much their life is going to change in these next 2 years. But you as politicians are just in the bubble. And again, you have these executive orders from Biden, and I'm sure a lot of Democrats think they're doing great because they're getting rave reviews on MSNBC. And within that bubble, within that small section of like politically engaged Americans who post on Twitter and who watch MSNBC or who follow this stuff closely, they probably are doing well with some of those people, but that's not the majority of people. The majority of people don't watch MSNBC every night. They tune into ESPN or whatever, and they don't follow politics closely. And like I say, not a lot of things break through for them until you have something like talk about getting $2,000 in the mail, and then that gets their attention.